Hello and welcome back to the Substack Live series, starting from zero. And we've got an extra special session today because normally we'll have the weekends off, but we have been speaking behind the scenes with this special lady. It's Tomide, and she is just rocking it on Substack, but also it's the quality of the Substack that she is creating and the story behind all of that. So Tomade's Substack is all about on your terms. And that was one of the reasons why behind the scenes, I've been messaging saying, please, can we organize a Substack Live? I really want to talk about this. I think I feel like I've been hunting you down to have this conversation with you because I feel that there's so much value to share with everybody. And so the topic of today's conversation is building what's next on your terms. And I think there's so much value in this conversation. So I would just love to start with you giving a little bit of a background to your corporate background, to what has brought you here. So we will be discussing like the whole starting from zero, but I feel it's important to give that context of like what you were doing previously to what's brought you to here now. So Tomide, I'd love to hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah. And I am so excited to be having this conversation with you. Um, Thank you for making it happen. So, just providing some context, I have like about 12 years of experience in corporate. I started my corporate career as a management consultant in Accenture. So, I worked at Accenture for about, I don't even know now, 3 or 4 years. And then I moved to the US for my MBA. So, I did my MBA at the Wharton School in Philadelphia. And then I got into the tech world. So actually, while I was in my MBA, at that point, I really wanted to go into investment banking. So I did an investment banking internship at Credit Suisse, but then I hated it. I was like, absolutely not. So I found my way into the tech industry. I worked at Twitter for about 4 years, right before Elon got in and made it X. So I was working at Twitter, not X. And then I moved on to Meta. So at Twitter, I was doing strategy and ops on the sales side. And then I moved to Meta, Facebook, and worked there for about 3 years in product strategy. I was on maternity leave. I had my baby December 2024. And by February 2025, I got a notification that I was being what was it? Laid off. Yeah, that's the word. So I got laid off while I was on maternity leave. The honest truth is, I already was not having I was already rethinking what corporate meant for me at that time. And so when I got the notification, it was kind of like, you know, I was okay with it essentially. I think it'd be more context around that time was like I had a baby, but I also almost died in childbirth, right? Like 3 times. So there's nothing like being on that edge, actually like seeing your life almost, come to an end to
Yeah.
make you really reevaluate what you were doing before anyway. And so when that layoff came, like it was time for me to make a decision as to whether I was going to go back to look for another job or just like, the slate is clean, start
Yeah.
from the beginning. And it
Mm.
was very important to me at this point in time to stop trying to live an impressive life and actually live one that has meaning for me, one that I'm happy to wake up to. And it even had more meaning to do that because now I have a son and I want him to see that you don't have to follow the default path. You don't have to follow whatever the system lays out there. Like you get to find yours, and I want to be that model for him. So that's pretty much the context. I got laid off and I was like, I'm not going back. I am going to do this. And I've been on the journey of rebuilding since then.
Wow. And I mean, there's so many little bits there that I want to refer back to. One, the child, like going through that in childbirth as well, of having those moments of really a shock, a life shock of like what really matters in that moment. Everything goes into insignificance of like its life
Yeah.
and and your life is, and our life is so important, and we often get lost on track with the routine on that. And especially within corporate, it's the next promotion, the next
Exactly.
achievement, the next bonus, the next target. Or what you said there about it less being, now like your reflection was that it's less about an impressive life and a more meaningful life. I literally got goosebumps like all over, because that is like, that in itself is like, wow. But I mean, yes, congratulations for everything that you achieved in your corporate career. I would just love to
Thank
sit in a room with you and just go, tell me all about the strategy. It's like one of those conversations, because I am that person behind the scenes that loves the tech, the strategy, the looking behind things. So I think we'd have some great conversations about that. But more importantly, even in different frames of life, we've both had those moments where it's like, what is going to create a meaningful life with intention? And although that can be scary because your identity is locked into these big companies and that role that you have, but then you're looking at your son, I'm sure, and just saying, who am I going to be to show him what's
yeah.
possible? And so that is so like poignant, really, of like what these conversations are about. And so how did it go on from there? Like, what were those decisions? So now you're in that position of, which I actually think, I'm sure you'll thank them now for that letter, because they've helped you make a choice rather than you being
Yeah.
forced into something. It's again, that can have life on your terms then. But what happened next in that in between stage?
Yeah. So I got so my last day of work was really like April
Yeah,
2025 at this point.
yeah.
And because I had almost died in childbirth, I had to recover physically but also recover mentally. And I am still recovering. I don't think it's something that just goes away. So I had to I took the whole of last year off to just recover.
Yeah.
Um and then by the end of the year, I started to think about like what I really wanted to do. I would say by July last year, I started writing on Substack because I just felt like I had like a lot of reflections, a lot that was going on in my mind, and I just needed to put it somewhere. And so I started to write on Substack. I deleted Instagram, I think, by December. Again, because I felt like I was just taking in whatever people were doing, and it was like
Mhm.
input that I didn't need. So
Mm.
I deleted Instagram, started writing on Substack. I really took it seriously by December, like being more consistent and all of that. So in January, I started consulting with a friend of mine, and we consulted from January to March. We had a couple of clients, but I again realized that I had created something with a friend that still felt like corporate to me, in the sense that what we were consulting about was not necessarily what I was excited about, but also I was then accountable to somebody again, right? And I didn't like those two things.
Yeah.
So by the end of March, I we kind of decided to call it quits. We're still the best of friends, but we just decided that that was not like working.
Mhm.
So at that point, I was like, okay, what's the next thing that I can do? I decided that I was going to be a fractional COO. So, like, taking all of my experience in corporate and just packaging it and offering on my own terms. So, I hired a coach to help me, like, really think through what my offers would be and then help me figure out how to build a pipeline. And I remember that by the third call, on like by our third session, she kind of just stopped me literally at the beginning. I was like, is this what you really want to do? And I'm like, I paid you. Like, of course this is what I want to do. What are you talking about? But it turns out like she had seen, I think she stumbled on my Substack or something, and she saw like a post that I made on LinkedIn that probably even had just like 100 impressions or something. Like people did not see that. But she saw it and she's just like, it's like there these other things that you embody, but like you're just like trying to be a fractional CEO. And she's like, I think that you'd be great at it. Like you'd be fantastic, you're excellent, but is this what you really want to do? So that moment, I had a moment of truth there where I was like, okay, you know what? I can keep moving or I can just tell the truth. And I was like, what I would really love to do is build out the On Your Terms platform. Like, so build it beyond Substack into something bigger. But I can't do that right now. I have to do the responsible thing, right? I have to like do this first and then come back to it.
Mhm.
And she said to me, like, what if this actually generates income faster than even this fractional CEO thing that you're thinking of doing? Like, what if it can happen for you now instead of 6 months or 1 year later that you're thinking? And I'm like, tell me more. What she really gave me on that, like in that session, was permission. It was like permission to think, like to just imagine and just like, you know, and I got off that call and it was like all the neutrons and neurons and everything in my brain was just like ready to go. I got off the call and I was just typing for like hours. I was writing the vision for what On Your Terms would become. So I can see the vision now. And then I decided to make it real first by like with the monetization, like one-on-one coaching. So I do offer like one-on-one coaching right now and I have a few clients with that, but it's so much bigger than coaching and I can see it because this person just gave me the permission, right? And so that's how I got to where I am really. And pretty much what she did for me in that hour is what I do with other women right now, and I've always done it, but it's pretty much what I do now. It's like helping people close the gap between where they are and where they really want to go. Because sometimes it's just hard to see, like to make it real, you know. You have it all in your head, but you're like, how do I make it real? And that's what I help women do.
Incredible. And so we've had similar experiences on both counts, really, because back in the UK, I co-founded a company called Female Success Network, and it came before I moved over to the US, and it was all about helping women start out or start over, pretty much like the gap side of everything. But because of the move and I actually went through a surgical menopause, so I had a period of time where I just had to like start life here, and that's why my publication is called Starting from Zero, because we moved to a different country. We didn't have any credit. We didn't have like family friends here, and at the same time as going through a surgical menopause, it was like it's like I'd been put in a washing machine and a dryer all in one, and I came out and life was all just all over the place. And at that time, my business partner, she was having her third child, and she was like, my life's going to go this way. I was like, and my life's going to go this way. And we closed everything down again with so much love and so much respect and mutual admiration for each other. But it's okay to say, do you know what, this isn't where we're going next. Maybe not together, you need to go on your solo adventure somehow, some way. And then along the way, I've met other people in community and find these things, and I've got a studio with a business partner here, and we do things together. But she's seen me come onto Substack and literally be set on fire, and she's had this conversation with me. She was like, Sarah, she's like, you found your thing. Like, this doesn't mean that we don't have to do things together. We can, but you need to do more of this. And it's the same. It's like, it's being on a platform like this where you like all of those, I see it as one big jigsaw puzzle where we've accumulated all of these puzzles from everywhere that we've been before, whether it's been life experiences, whether it would be projects we've worked on, whether it's something we've studied. All of those things are our little jigsaw pieces. And then it felt like all of those pieces had been put in the right shape. So they knew exactly where they needed to go. And then Substack steps in, and it's like, we're going to give you a podcast outlet. We're going to give you a membership outlet. We're going to give you a live series outlet. We're going to give you a place to work, a place to write your articles. And I'm like, and all of these things come together into this jigsaw puzzle. And it's like, there's what you lean into. It's like and I think when you have that, you know that things will flow for you. They'll flow for your community, and they'll flow for your clients, because it feels like that's the thing that you're waiting for, and you get to deliver it on your terms and in your way. And I think that's what people are resonating with you with, because I know this week we're celebrating you being rising in business because you turned your paid tier on. So
Yes.
congratulations on that.
Thank
And people are
you.
saying yes, because I think that's the point, is that it's regardless of how long you have been on Substack, that does not discount the number of years that you have built your career and all of those things, that you can come here on your terms and you can deliver it in the way that you do. And the more authentic that you can be in what you're delivering, whether it's the articles or whether it's having conversations like this, those people that can then say, I want more of Tomide, I want more of Sarah, I want more of this conversation. And I think that that's the exciting thing about being here. And I'd love to also share that I always love to do a little bit of research about people before we have these conversations. And one of the things that popped up for me was somebody described you as the corporatepreneur.
Oh.
Tell me about that.
Oh, yeah. So I think, what people know me for, like today, or at least what I'm trying to be known for, is like building life on your terms, using entrepreneurship as a lever. But like that's just the manifestation that it is. Like that's the form today.
Yes.
So, and that's again why, people talk about overnight success. I don't think I'm there yet, but like they talk about overnight success, but they don't see the years that led to the overnight success. So the corporatepreneur was pretty much like what I was working towards when I was still in corporate. So I
Okay.
call
Yeah.
it corporatepreneur, like you're an entrepreneur, but you're also like a corporate girly or whatever. And so then I was writing a lot on LinkedIn and taking people along the journey of building a business. So I did build a multi six-figure business while I was in corporate. It was a handbag brand. I don't have any of them around me right now, but it was
Sure.
a handbag brand. And so I used to share the journey of building and like what we were doing and like what our marketing was doing on LinkedIn. But I was also like creating a movement to like get women to build on the side of their corporate jobs. So I eventually started a coaching business then as well,
Mm.
coaching women in corporate to build product-based businesses. So the whole corporatepreneur term was really around that, you
Yeah.
know. So life has moved right now, and I'm more of like, okay, I want to help women exit, not like build
Yes.
on the side of business of corporate. But
But
that's what
I,
it was about.
yeah, and but I also what I like about it is that it is an evolution. So even though
Yeah.
that you knew that that was a product, I didn't see it as that. I saw
Mhm.
it as the women that are in corporates that are actually sort of like they're doing what you were doing. But
Yeah.
the only thing that's not in this is that they didn't have the experience that you're having, but they're seeing things like Substack, they're seeing the things that write them up, but then now they're like, could I start my own business? That would, because that was the very first thing. Like, could that be something that would bring me joy? And step in you, where you're saying this, like I've been there, and because that was, it takes me back to what you said at this beginning bit of like the impressive life, and I see the impressive life of the big brand companies that you're at the top of the company, directorate, executive women that are in there, and I see friends here. They travel into the city like an hour on a train on the LIRR every day, an hour in,
Yeah.
like up at 5, go to the gym, up at 4 actually, go to the gym for an hour, then
Yeah.
and then they're coming home, getting home at midnight, and then it's back the next day. And I just see one of my best friends, and she's here, and she had a 25-year career in fashion, and that was her journey that whole time of going into the city, an hour in, an hour out. But they were, and with that outlook of like, if you're not prepared to come in on a Sunday, don't be prepared to come back to work on the Monday. It was like that mentality. And now I think we're in such a different position, and especially with someone like you with this expertise of like, you can say to people, doesn't have to be like that anymore. There's
Yeah.
another outlets of being able to use your skills and expertise for it to be, it can still be impressive, but what about if that meaning comes into it and it is on your terms? And so that's
Exactly.
that's the part of it that I love about everything that you're doing. And so your articles that you're putting out there, Can you give us a taste of the writing and what's inside your paid tier?
Oh, of course. So what I write about, I mean, all my articles are, I mean, so far everything is free.
Yep.
But I write about, like I think most of it so far has been my experience. Everything always comes through the lens of my experience. I'm not very like teachy coachy.
Mm-hmm.
But I write about my experience rebuilding and the things that I'm learning along the way. So for instance, one of the most recent ones was around like I was on LinkedIn and I saw somebody write about like bravery and courage, right? She always thought she was brave, but somebody said to her, actually, no, you were courageous. Courageous is internal, right? Like being courageous is internal. It means like maybe you've had all these blocks in your life, but you've been able to push through and just achieve things. That's courage. But like bravery is like when you see a mountain and you want to climb it, right? Now that's outward. That's bravery, and it stuck with me. And then I got on another call with another lady and she was talking about how, her clients would be like, how can I get confident to post on LinkedIn? And she's like, I can't sell you confidence, but I can tell you that if you continue to do the brave thing of posting, then confidence is on the other end of it, right? So bravery compounds into confidence. I heard those two things separate like spaces in 1 week, and I like my audience has to hear about this, So I call it the bravery ladder, from courage, and then you take multiple brave steps, and then you get to confidence. And of course, it can loop, but those are the things like I share like my learnings along the way of building and making sure that it's helpful to people. I'm also sharing like how to. So with the paid tier, I wanted to get more um intentional about sharing resources to actually get, so instead of just like connecting but like actually helping people take action, especially when they want to build businesses. So on my paid tier, I do one I have a premium resource library. So I'm sharing like the tools, the templates, like just really helping you go from I need to make this real to taking the next step to getting it to making it real. We also have a monthly decision room. So that's actually a live call where it's possible to get hot seats on there, but like you actually have me and all the other women in the room to help you take the next decision, to help you take the next action, to answer any questions that you might have, to unblock you as well, so that you can move your business forward. Because if you don't take the next step, then you're never going to see like the progress, like the big vision that you have, right? Right. So it's all about like taking the next step. So we have the monthly live decision rooms, and then the third thing is I'm going to be sharing the behind the scenes of actually my business that I'm running, which is a little I feel vulnerable sharing
Mm-hmm.
that, but
Mm-hmm.
really it's like building is not all rosy, right? And so I don't want to be the person sharing only the highlight reels, but I want to show you what growth looks like. If it's a $500 month, which is not the goal, I will show you what it is and what I have learned from it and what I am the experiments that I am doing, for instance, right? So I really just want to take people on that journey so they see what it really is like. And it's not like, oh, I launched a business and I made $50,000 and, like what's in between that.
Yeah.
So I want to show people the real. So that's what I do on the paid side. I forgot on the free side, I actually also interview women, but right now it's like written. So I interview women that are on the other side. So they have quick corporate, they have like built like businesses. And I want to show women possibility, you
Mm.
know. So I want you to see that it is possible, because if you don't see that it's possible, then you're just going to keep going in your own lane. So for me to see possibility, I quit Instagram and I curated my Substack feed to be only people that have exited or are exiting. Like I'm like, I do not want to hear from anybody else. And so my publication is, I want it to be a place where if you're thinking about exiting corporate or you've recently exited corporate, this is where you come. This is where you come to find solidarity, but
Yeah.
also to find the resources to take action. Yeah, and I also talk about the messy middle as well. So I talk about like what it feels like when you're in between. You've left corporate and you've not yet hammered, like you've not yet, you know secured the bag, right? And all the feelings that come, I'm just telling you the truth,
Yeah.
about that journey. So that's what I do. I write about it and then I give you resources to close the gap.
Incredible. And I think that's why we get on so well, is that is that we're wearing our heart on our sleeve in a way of just sharing. I think that is the one thing of the reason why starting from zero is called starting from zero, is like
Mhm.
actually a real unveiling of the curtain of like what this big experiment is, because I
Yeah.
think that's we're all in that space right now. And that's why I did the my first 90 days on Substack. It didn't matter about what the numbers were. It was more important about the consistency of showing up every day, or doing what you're saying that you're going to do, and then sharing that
Mhm.
with others, that it actually helps somebody else do it. And I think by lifting the curtain, it shows that we're not claiming to be a Substack expert in some way, but actually, if everybody is just sharing their little bit of information of that could help somebody else feel a little bit more confident in sharing what they're sharing, I think that's a win for us all. And I think that's where you get to change the culture of a community and a
Yeah.
network. That makes you want to not be on LinkedIn and Instagram and all of those other places, because you can find a source of, well, a trusted resource of
Yeah.
people that what they're saying is the truth, because you can see it in things like this, and you can see it in the resources that are doing. So I think that element of it, of lifting the care of I think there's a big thing right now of like all masks being unveiled, and it being
Mhm.
like less being about influence, and it more being about the impact of stuff, and doing it messy, and just saying, this is what I'm doing. If it's helpful, there you go. If not, then maybe someone else can help you. And I think
Mhm.
that's the beauty of starting from zero. And I'd love your outlook, because I think everybody's version of starting from zero is very different. What did starting from zero look like for you?
Hmm. That's a really good question. Um, I would say that zero is different for everybody, right? And zero sometimes can really look like 0, 0, like zero in the bank account, right?
Yeah.
For me, starting from zero was, I have a blank slate. I don't know what I'm going to do. I know I want to run a business, but how do I make sure it's a bit like, is it going to work? Is it, I don't have any certainties right now. But I would say that it was not a genuine zero in a sense, because I have, work experience, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, if this doesn't work, I'll go back and get a job, right?
Yeah.
And beyond that, there's a little bit of a privilege in what I'm doing, because I have worked for quite a bit and I was very, diligent in saving.
Yeah.
So I'm not like desperate, I'm not in a desperate financial situation. So I
Mhm.
can actually spend time building properly and making like, so I think zero is very different for people, but my zero was just, okay, I built a foundation that allows me to take my life back at this point. Yeah.
Yes. That's just such an incredible answer, because I think even the conversations that we had yesterday and the day before, it's like sometimes zero could just be the reset, like your reset, but of
Yeah.
just doing something differently. And I think that's the point, is that we all have experience, knowledge, wisdom, and expertise, and we can just now have that blank canvas to utilize that
Exactly.
in the way that we want to utilize that. And so I would say, I would love you to share, if there's anybody that's literally starting from zero today, and they've come onto the platform and they're looking everywhere and they're like, it's overwhelming, there's lots of different facets of live and notes and articles, like, if you were restarting right now, what would you say to somebody that, if it's just their first day right here watching this right now?
I would say like, just be you, just
Mm-hmm.
be authentically you. And if you want to make Substack like your home on the internet, like just write what you want to write. Like, this is not the time to, listen to experts or whatever, right? Like you can optimize later with whatever experts say, which is what I did. But give yourself the time to explore, to find yourself, to just write. I think the first couple of things that I wrote had nothing to do with business. I was
Mm.
just like, I have thoughts and, and I write. So give yourself the space to explore and to find your voice on the internet before you do anything with it.
I love that. And then towards the final question around this, it links back to on your terms. And so if somebody is in a corporate looking to exit, all of those things and it's like, what does on your terms mean? Like time or money or motherhood or freedom of like what does if we dive deeper of your definition of something being on your terms, how are you expressing that?
Ah, that's a good question. So, um, I think I was thinking the other day, like what my definition of success was,
Mm,
right? And if you had asked me this a few years ago, I would have said, success is making, millions of dollars
mm,
and I knew corporate was probably not going to be the place where I would make millions of dollars. And so that was pretty much one of my motivations for business, right? So it was very financially heavy
yeah,
so that I could one have freedom, give back. There were all these other things, but I would say finance was like one of them. And while in corporate, it was also like, okay, of course, continue to move up the ladder. So it was very enveloped by achievement, like achievement, whether it was financially or in climbing up the ladder and the way people see you and perceive you. I think when you're living life on your terms, it takes you through to this place where you have radical acceptance of yourself. And so the external perceptions don't matter anymore. You
mm,
do what you want to do, what you do because you want to do them, because they bring you joy and happiness and they bring joy and happiness to the people, your community around you. So this is not like find happiness while, like making everybody suffer, like not at the expense of others,
yeah,
but what you think and what you feel about yourself comes first, right? And so these days my definition of happiness is really just being able to define how I use my time and being able to do what I want to do when I want to do it and afford to do it in a way that doesn't squeeze me, really.
yeah,
Those are just the things. I don't need like millions of dollars. If I get it, awesome.
yeah.
But, I do want to live very comfortably. I do want to travel and all of those things. And so I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it and be able to afford it. That's it.
Incredible. And I think it's about having choices to give yourself choices and be able to trust
Yeah.
the choices that you make as well, and which giving you the freedom to be able to create that life. So Tomide, I knew this was the reason why I wanted us to have this conversation. Thank you for the
Thank you.
value that you've shared with us today. I think everything that you're creating is so needed, and I'm just going to be watching in awe as everything flourishes and thrives for you, because it's just what you're putting out there is needed by so many women that want to make a change to be on their terms. And so if you've enjoyed today's article or the live, there's going to be an article underneath this where we're going to be sharing some tips from this conversation today and all the ways that you can stay connected and subscribe to Tomide as well. And I'm sure this won't be the very last conversation that we have on something like this, because I also do Intentional Living magazine. I'd love to talk about that over on the magazine as well at some point. But I just want to say from the bottom of my heart to yours, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for everybody here joining us as well on the live conversation.
Thank you for having me. This was really good.
I
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed it. So the next and final installment of the Substack Live series will be with Fleur Hull, and she is the founder of the Substack Bookstore, and we're going to be talking all about books and how that can get out there. So that's an exciting one, and so I can't believe this is like the seventh live consecutive. Talk about a baptism of fire, like throwing yourself into all of the lives. But it's been so enjoyable, and everyone's saying thank you as well. well. So again, thank you for joining us, especially on a Saturday. Enjoy the weekend with your family, and
You
we will
too.
see you again very soon. Thank you so
Okay.
much for
All
joining
right.
us. Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Take care. Bye.